Aaron lived a simple life on the far edge of human space. He was not a soldier, not a leader, not even an explorer. He was just a worker who repaired old signal towers on a small outpost called Haven 9. Most people ignore places like Haven 9. It was quiet, cold, and forgotten by the bigger cities of Earth. But for Aaron, the silence of the stars was peaceful. Every evening, after checking the last signal relay, he would sit outside the station walls and watch the sky. From there, he could see the dark stretch of space filled with thousands of glowing stars. Sometimes, distant ships passed, their engines like falling streaks of light. He always wondered what kind of people traveled so far away, and what kind of secrets the universe held. That night started like any other. Aaron carried his toolkit across the metal path leading to the damaged relay. A solar storm had struck the day before, leaving half the signal towers flickering with static. He muttered under his breath, annoyed at how the wires always burned out when storms passed. The tower head stood tall and broken, its lights dimmed out as Aaron bent down to open the panel. The sound of movement froze him in place. It was faint at first, like a soft step on gravel. He looked over his shoulder. Nothing, only the long stretch of sand and metal scattered under the moonlight of the nearby planet. He shook his head and tried to return to work, but then he heard it again. This time it was closer. A shadow moved between the rocks. Aaron's chest tightened. The outpost was supposed to be empty, except for a few workers. No one ever walked this far out at night. Slowly, he stood up, holding his small tool like a weapon, even though he knew it was useless. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice shaking. From the darkness, a figure stepped forward. At first, Aaron thought it was just another worker. But as the figure came closer, the faint light revealed something else entirely. She was tall, her skin pale with a faint glow, like moonlight reflecting on water. Her hair shimmered silver, moving as if stirred by an invisible breeze. In her eyes, Aaron had never seen eyes like that. They were wide, bright, and glimmered like liquid metal. Aaron's breath caught in his throat. This was no worker. This was no human. The alien woman moved with careful steps, her gaze scanning the horizon as though she expected someone to be following her. When her eyes finally locked on Aaron, he felt a strange mix of fear and awe. He wanted to run, but his legs stayed frozen. She raised one hand slowly, signaling for him not to shout. Then she leaned closer. Her voice, when it came, was soft and urgent, carrying a strange accent yet perfectly clear. "Don't tell anyone," she whispered. Before Aaron could react, she pressed something into his hand. He looked down and saw a small object, no bigger than his palm. It glowed faintly with blue light, warm to the touch, almost alive. The moment it touched his skin, a shiver ran up his arm. Aaron stared at it, confused and frightened. "What is this?" he whispered back. But the alien woman didn't answer. She glanced over her shoulder, eyes wide with alarm, as if someone was searching for her. Then, with a swift movement, she turned and disappeared back into the shadows, leaving Aaron standing alone with the mysterious object. For a long moment, Aaron couldn't move. His heart pounded in his chest as he looked at the glowing thing in his hand. It pulsed softly, like it was breathing. He wanted to throw it away, yet something deep inside told him not to. Whatever this was, it was important, too important to abandon. He tucked it into his jacket and forced himself to finish repairing the relay, though his hands trembled so badly that he dropped his tools twice. Every sound around him now felt louder, every shadow deeper. When he finally returned to Haven 9, the corridors of the outpost seemed colder than before. Inside his small quarters, Aaron locked the door and sat on the bed. He pulled out the object and set it on the table. It shone softly in the dark room, casting strange patterns on the walls. Aaron leaned closer, studying it. The surface was smooth, yet covered in faint markings like tiny stars carved into metal. As his fingers brushed across them, a spark of light shot upward, and for a second he saw images in his mind, shapes of distant galaxies, symbols he didn't understand, and fragments of alien voices. He pulled his hand back in shock, breathing hard. This was not just a piece of metal. It was something far more advanced, something humans had never built. But why had she given it to him? Why him, of all people, a simple worker, forgotten at the edge of space? Aaron sat for hours, staring at the object. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face again. Her silver eyes filled with fear, her voice repeating in his memory, "Don't tell anyone." Sleep refused to come. He felt the weight of the secret pressing on him, heavier than anything he had ever carried. He knew that if anyone discovered this, questions would follow, questions he could not answer. The night stretched long and silent, but deep in his heart, Aaron sensed that his life had just changed forever. Something had been placed in his hand, something that might hold answers, far beyond his small outpost. And though he did not yet understand it, he could feel the truth. He was no longer just a worker on Haven 9. He had become part of something far greater, something dangerous, something that would not let him go. Aaron did not sleep that night. The strange object sat on the small table in his quarters, glowing softly like a heartbeat. He sat on the edge of his bed, eyes fixed on it, as if it might suddenly move. Every time he tried to look away, his gaze returned to it, drawn as though the light itself pulled at him. The more he stared, the more he realized the object was not simple. Its surface was smooth and silver, but when the light shifted, faint patterns appeared. They were like tiny rivers of light running across it, forming shapes he could not understand. At times, it almost looked like a map. Aaron reached out carefully, his fingertips brushing the surface. The moment he touched it, a wave of warmth spread through his hand. His vision blurred, and for a second, he saw flashes, stars, spirals of galaxies, strange symbols moving too fast to follow. Then it ended, leaving him breathless. He pulled his hand back quickly, staring at the object with wide eyes. "What are you?" he whispered. The object pulsed an answer, almost as if it heard him. Aaron's heart raced. He had repaired machines all his life, but nothing like this. Human technology did not breathe with light. Human machines did not send visions into your mind. He wanted to tell someone, but her voice echoed again in his memory. "Don't tell anyone." He sighed, leaning back against the wall. Why him? Why had she chosen him out of everyone on Haven 9? He was no soldier, no scientist, not even a man of importance, just a worker who fixed broken wires. Yet she had trusted him with something powerful enough to scare her. The next morning, Aaron forced himself to act normal. He tucked the object deep inside a hidden compartment in his toolkit and carried it with him. If anyone came searching his quarters, they would find nothing, but the weight of it followed him, as if the object itself carried a secret too heavy to ignore. At the relay station, his friend Yulin waved from across the yard. Yulin was older, with rough hands and a laugh that always filled the air. "You look like you saw a ghost last night," Yulin said, chuckling. "Couldn't sleep?" Aaron forced a smile. "Storm kept me awake. The wires kept sparking in my head." Yulin laughed again and went back to his work. Aaron felt a stab of guilt. He wanted to tell him the truth, but he couldn't. If he did, Yulin might get pulled into this mystery too. And Aaron already felt the danger pressing at his back. The day passed slowly. Every sound of the machine seemed louder. Every shadow felt like it was hiding someone watching. Aaron's hands trembled as he worked, his mind never leaving the object in his toolkit. When the shift ended, he hurried back to his quarters and locked the door again. This time, he placed the object on the table and stared at it with determination. He had to understand it. He could not keep living in fear without knowing what it was. He touched the surface again. The warmth spread through him, but instead of pulling away, he let the vision come. His mind filled with images. He saw a cluster of stars spinning in darkness. Then he saw a great ship, unlike any human design. Its shape was long, sharp, and alive with flowing energy. Voices whispered in a language he could not understand. But somehow the meaning touched his thoughts. Words like truth, proof, and resistance brushed his mind. The vision shifted. He saw shadows of figures standing tall, their eyes glowing like the woman's silver gaze. Behind them, fire spread across worlds, cities falling, ships burning. Then the light faded, and he was back in his quarters, gasping for air. His hands shook as he pressed them against his face. The object was not just a tool. It was a message, a memory, a warning. Aaron paced the room. If this was true, if the vision showed real events, then something terrible was happening in the galaxy. Something the alien woman wanted him to know. But why not tell him directly? Why give him this instead of words? He stopped and stared at the object again. Perhaps she could not explain. Perhaps she was being hunted, and the only safe way to pass the truth was through this core. Core. The word felt right. That was what it was. A memory core. Aaron sat back down. Trying to steady his thoughts, he thought of Earth, far away. Powerful but still small compared to the vast galaxy. If human leaders saw this, would they believe it, or would they take it, lock it away, and pretend it did not exist? A knock at his door startled him. He quickly covered the core with a cloth and shoved it aside. "Who is it?" "It's Yulin," came the reply. "You missed dinner. Thought you'd want some bread before the kitchen closes." Aaron opened the door a little, taking the food with a grateful smile. "Thanks. Just tired." "You sure?" Yulin asked, squinting at him. "You've been jumpy since yesterday." "Something happened out there at the relay?" Aaron forced another smile. "Nothing. Just the storm's still on my mind." Yulin nodded slowly, though his eyes lingered. "All right, get some rest." When the door closed again, Aaron leaned against it, heart pounding. He could not keep this up for long. Sooner or later, someone would notice. And if anyone found the core, they would take it away before he learned its secrets. That night, he sat in silence, listening to the hum of the outpost's generators. He stared at the glowing object again, his mind torn between fear and curiosity. He did not know who the alien woman was or why she had chosen him. He did not know what the visions truly meant. But one thing was certain: the object was dangerous. It carried truth powerful enough to put her in danger, and now him as well. Aaron knew his life would not return to normal. He could not pretend this was just a strange gift, whatever the core held. It was meant for him to protect. As the glow of the object filled the small room, Aaron felt the weight of a choice pressing on him. He could try to hide it forever and hope no one came searching. Or he could seek the woman again and demand answers. Either way, he realized one truth that made his chest heavy. He was no longer a man living in the quiet shadow of forgotten space. He was holding a secret that could change everything. The days after Aaron first touched the core felt heavy and restless. He could no longer walk the outpost corridors without feeling eyes on him. He could no longer eat with the other workers without imagining whispers behind his back. The small object stayed hidden in the bottom of his toolkit, but the weight of it pressed against his thoughts at all times. On the fifth day, the silence of Haven 9 broke. Aaron was walking across the yard when the alarm sirens screamed across the sky. The ground shook as ships descended through the clouds. They were not human supply ships or patrols. These vessels were sharp, dark, and curved like blades cutting through the air. Their engines gave off a sound deeper than thunder, vibrating through Aaron's chest. Workers stopped what they were doing, staring upward with fear. The ships landed just outside the main gates, and lines of armored soldiers marched out. Their armor was black, with bright red visors glowing like fire. They moved in perfect formation, their boots striking the ground in rhythm. No one on Haven 9 had ever seen soldiers like these. They did not belong to Earth. The commander, taller than the rest, stepped forward and spoke in a harsh, metallic voice. "Residents of this outpost, you will cooperate. We search for a fugitive, a woman not of your kind. If she is here, you will tell us. If you hide her, you will pay the price." The workers exchanged nervous looks. No one spoke. Aaron's hands turned cold. His mind went back to the silver-eyed woman, to her urgent words, "Don't tell anyone." He felt the hidden weight of the core in his toolkit back in his quarters. As though it burned through the metal walls, the soldiers began moving through the outpost, checking buildings, questioning workers, scanning every corner. The commander's red visor swept over the yard, pausing on Aaron for a second longer than anyone else. Aaron quickly lowered his gaze and tried to look busy, but his heart hammered against his ribs. Later that evening, the soldiers gathered groups of workers in the hall. They asked the same questions again and again. Had anyone seen someone unusual? Had anyone noticed strange activity? Had anyone come into contact with an outsider? When Aaron's turn came, he sat stiffly on the metal chair as the soldiers loomed. Over him, "You work outside often," one said, his voice flat. "Did you see anything?" Aaron forced his voice steady. "Only the storm. Nothing else." The soldier leaned closer, his visor inches from Aaron's face. "Think carefully. We will know if you lie." Aaron swallowed, holding the man's gaze though his palms were sweating. "I fix wires. That is all." After a long silence, the soldier stepped back. "Move." Aaron walked out of the hall with his heart still racing. He felt the urge to run straight to his quarters and check the core, but he stopped himself. Running would draw attention. He had to act normal, no matter how much fear clawed at him. That night, he returned to his room and locked the door. He pulled the core out and stared at its glow. The alien woman had given him this for a reason. Now soldiers were here, searching. With deadly intent, the connection was clear. They wanted the core. A faint sound outside made him freeze. He quickly covered the object and reached for the small tool he kept as a weapon. The door hissed open slightly, and a shadow slipped inside. Aaron raised his tool, ready to strike. But then he saw her, the alien woman. Her silver eyes glimmered. In the dim light, she closed the door quietly and motioned for him to stay calm. Aaron lowered the tool slowly, though his pulse did not slow. "You came back," he whispered. "They're looking for you. They're everywhere." "I know," she said softly, her voice strained. "They will not stop until they find me or what I carry. But I had to see if you still had it." Her gaze moved to the table where the core lay hidden under the cloth. Aaron hesitated, then lifted the cloth to show her. The core pulsed with its living glow. Relief flickered across her face. "Good," she whispered. "You kept it safe." "What is it?" Aaron demanded in a low voice. "Why give it to me? They're tearing the outpost apart for this thing. I'm no soldier. I'm not even anyone important." She stepped closer, her silver eyes locking onto his. "That is why I chose you. They would never expect someone like you. You are hidden in plain sight, and humans are harder to control than they know." Before Aaron could ask what she meant, a loud crash echoed down the corridor. Shouts followed, the heavy stomp of armored boots closing in. Her eyes widened. "They're here," she hissed. "We must move now." Aaron's breath caught. His entire body screamed to stay, to hide, to wait until danger passed. But another part of him, the part that had touched the core and seen the burning worlds in his visions, knew he could not turn back now. He grabbed the core, shoving it into his jacket. "Where do we go?" She motioned to the back wall. "Maintenance tunnels. Hurry." They slipped out just as the soldiers reached his door. Aaron heard it burst open behind them. The crash of boots as they stormed inside. He and the woman moved quickly through narrow corridors, the hum of generators guiding their way. The tunnels smelled of oil and dust, a place no one visited unless repairs were needed. The soldiers' voices echoed behind them. They were being hunted, step by step. Aaron's lungs burned as he ran, but he pushed forward. The alien woman moved like flowing shadow, her movements quick and graceful, as though she had done this before. At last, they reached a hatch that led outside the outpost walls. She forced it open, and cold night air rushed in. Beyond the fence lay the dark stretch of desert, and the horizon glowing faintly with the light of moons. Aaron turned back for a moment. He could see the red glow of visors in the distance. Soldiers spreading through the tunnels. They were close. Too close? Go, she urged, pulling him forward. They ran into the open desert, the stars above shining bright and endless. Behind them, alarms blared again as the soldiers realized their prey had slipped away. Aaron's chest heaved as they stumbled over the rocks, but he kept running, clutching the core tightly. The truth hit him like a hammer. His life was no longer just his own. He was carrying something powerful, something dangerous, something that entire armies would kill to recover. And the hunt had only just begun. The desert stretched wide and silent under the light of two moons. Aaron's boots sank into the sand as he ran beside the alien woman. His chest burned. His breath came in sharp bursts, but fear kept his legs moving. Behind them, the red glow of soldier visors flickered across the dunes. When at last they stopped to rest, they hid behind a jagged rock formation. Aaron leaned against the stone, his hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. The woman stood, tall and alert, her silver eyes scanning the horizon. "They will not stop," she said softly. "Once they know you have the core, they will hunt you across every world." Aaron pulled the object from his jacket and stared at it. The glow was dimmer now, as if it was conserving energy. "This thing," he said, his voice shaking. "It's why they're here." "What is it really?" "I saw things when I touched it, stars, burning cities, ships, but I don't understand." The woman turned toward him. Her face looked tired, yet her voice carried strength. "It is a memory core. My people use them to store truths that cannot be erased. Inside it is proof of what the Empire has done." "Empire," Aaron repeated. She nodded. "They are the ones chasing us. They rule many worlds with fear. They silence anyone who speaks against them. They destroy those who resist. The soldiers you saw are their hunters. They came here for me, and for the core." Aaron swallowed hard. He remembered the visions of fire, the ships falling from the sky. So all that was real? "Yes," she said firmly. "Those are the memories of my people. Entire colonies were burned, families taken, voices silenced. And now they want to erase even the record of it. That is why the core must survive. If it is destroyed, the truth dies with it." Aaron gripped the core tighter. His thoughts spun. Like a storm. He was just a worker, a man who fixed broken wires. He had never fought in wars, never stood against empires. Yet now, somehow, he was holding a piece of truth so powerful that it made entire armies chase him. "Why give it to me?" he asked, his voice almost breaking. "Why not keep it yourself? Why not find someone who can fight?" Her silver eyes softened. "Because I cannot carry it any longer. They know me. They know my face, my steps, my voice. I am hunted everywhere. But you are human. They do not understand humans yet. You are unpredictable to them. You live on the edges of their maps, outside their control. That is why I chose you." Aaron shook his head. "I'm no hero." "Heroes are not chosen," she said quietly. "They are made when the moment arrives." For a long moment, silence hung between them. The wind shifted the sand at their feet. Aaron looked at the glowing core again. It felt heavy in his hand, not because of its size, but because of the weight of responsibility. He sat down against the rock, staring at the night sky. If humans saw this, if Earth knew the truth, do you think they'd believe it? The woman sat across from him. They would have no choice. The core shows more than words. It carries voices, images, living memories. No one can deny what it holds. With it, your people could rise. They could stand against the empire. Aaron rubbed his face with his hands. Stand against an empire? We're barely holding our own worlds together. Earth has no fleets like the ones I saw in those visions. Her eyes gleamed in the moonlight. Strength is not only in fleets, it is in will. The empire fears humans because they cannot predict how you fight. Where others submit, humans resist. Where others fear, humans endure. That is why I gave the core to you. Aaron felt his chest tighten. He wanted to deny her words, to tell her she was wrong. But deep inside, something stirred. He thought of Earth's history, of the stories of people who stood against impossible odds. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps humans carried something the Empire had never faced before. A sudden noise broke the stillness. Both of them froze. From the distance came the hum of engines. The soldiers had brought search craft. Beams of light cut across the desert, sweeping the dunes. "They are close," the woman whispered. "We cannot stay here." Aaron tucked the core back into his jacket. His fear had not lessened, but now it carried a sharper edge responsibility. He was not just running for his own life anymore. He was carrying proof of truth, proof that might decide the fate of more than just Haven 9. "Where do we go?" he asked. "There's a place," she said. "An old station, hidden in the mountains. My people left supplies there. If we reach it, we can send a signal to your world." Aaron nodded. "Then we go." They moved again, keeping low as the search. Light swept the desert. Aaron's legs ached, but he forced himself forward. Every step carried him further from the life he had once known. As they climbed a ridge, Aaron glanced at the woman. "You never told me your name." She looked at him for a moment, then spoke softly. "Mira." The name lingered in the air like a quiet promise. Aaron repeated it in his mind, grounding himself with the sound. Mira, the one who had trusted him, with a secret too dangerous to speak. When they reached the top of the ridge, they looked back. The search craft hovered like dark insects across the desert, their lights moving in careful lines. Aaron felt the cold grip of fear again. They were not safe, not yet. But beside him, Mira stood tall, her eyes fixed on the horizon where the mountains rose against the sky. She did not look afraid. She looked determined. Aaron tightened his hold on the core. For the first time, he felt a spark of that same determination. He still doubted himself, still feared what was coming, but he could not turn back, not with Mira beside him, not with the truth in his hands. As they began their climb toward the mountains, Aaron understood one thing clearly. He was no longer just protecting himself. He was protecting a truth that could shake empires. And whether he wanted it or not, his path was now tied to Mira's, to the memory core, and to the destiny of his own people. The desert wind howled behind them, carrying the sound of distant engines. The hunt continued, but for the first time, Aaron did not feel only fear. He felt the weight of choice and the strength to carry it. The mountains rose sharp and jagged under the pale glow of the moons. Aaron and Mira moved carefully across the rocky ground, staying low whenever searchlight swept the desert below. The wind whistled through the peaks, carrying grains of sand that stung their skin. Aaron's legs felt heavy, and his throat was dry, but he forced himself to keep moving. Every step away from the outpost felt like another step into a new life he had not chosen, yet could no longer escape. The memory core pressed against his chest beneath his jacket, its faint glow seeping through the fabric. After hours of climbing, Mira led him to a narrow cave hidden between two cliffs. Inside, the air was cool and still. She motioned for him to sit. "We rest here," she whispered. Aaron dropped to the ground, grateful for a moment of silence. His body ached, but his mind raced. He thought about Haven 9, about Yelen, about the workers who had no idea what was happening. The soldiers would not leave the outpost untouched. Already, he imagined them searching rooms, questioning everyone, breaking anything that stood in their way. "They will hurt people," Aaron said softly, staring at the ground. Mira's silver eyes dimmed with sorrow. "Yes, the Empire always leaves fear behind, but you cannot return. If they catch you with the core, it will all be lost." Aaron clenched his fists. He hated the thought of others suffering because of him. But deep down he knew Mira was right. He was carrying something greater than himself now. When the sun rose, they set out again. The path wound higher into the mountains, where old mining tunnels crisscrossed the stone. Mira explained that one of these tunnels led to a forgotten station her people had built long ago. There, they could hide and send a signal to Earth. For the first time, hope stirred in Aaron's chest. Maybe they had a chance, but hope did not last long. By evening, as they crossed a narrow ridge, Aaron spotted movement below. Figures in black armor climbed the slope with steady precision. Red visors glowed between the rocks. The soldiers had found their trail. "They are faster than I thought," Mira muttered. "We must move quickly." They hurried along the ridge, but the path grew steeper. Aaron's legs shook with exhaustion. The sound of voices echoed below, closer with each moment. Then a sharp whistle cut the air. A beam of red light streaked past, burning into the stone near Aaron's shoulder. "They're firing," Aaron shouted. Ducking, Mira grabbed his arm. "This way." They sprinted along the path as more beams cut through the air. Rocks shattered and dust filled the sky. Aaron's chest burned with every breath, but he forced his legs to keep moving. He knew if he fell, there would be no getting up again. Finally, they dove into a tunnel opening. Darkness swallowed them, and the shouts of the soldiers grew muffled. Mira pulled a small device from her belt, tapping it until a faint blue light shone. "This tunnel leads deeper," she said. "Stay close." The ground sloped downward, the air heavy with dust. Aaron followed her light, each step echoing through the stone. His heartbeat was loud in his ears, and the core seemed heavier than ever against his chest. For hours they moved through the tunnels, winding deeper into the mountain. At last, the stone opened into a wide cavern. Old machines lay scattered across the floor, covered in dust and rust. In the center stood a small building of metal and glass. Half buried in rock, "This is it," Mira said. "The outpost my people built long ago." Aaron let out a shaky breath. For the first time since the chase began, he felt a spark of relief. Here, maybe, they could rest and plan their next move. But as they entered the building, a shadow moved from the corner. Aaron froze. Out of the darkness stepped a familiar figure. "Yelen," Aaron gasped. His friend looked worn, his clothes covered in dust. But his eyes were sharp. "Aaron," he said, his voice low. "I knew I'd find you here." Aaron felt a rush of relief. "You followed us. How? Why?" But something in Jelen's face stopped him. There was no warmth in his eyes, no laughter like before. Instead, his gaze flicked to Mira, then to Aaron's jacket where the core was hidden. "You have something they want," Yelen said slowly. "I told them I could bring you in." Aaron's heart dropped. You told them?" Jelen's jaw tightened. "I had no choice. They would have destroyed Haven 9. They said if I helped them, they would leave the others alive." Mira stepped forward, her voice cold. "They lie. The Empire never spares anyone. Once they have the core, they will burn your outpost to ash." Yelen flinched, but his hand tightened on the small beacon he carried. Its red light blinked slowly. Aaron's stomach twisted. A signal. Yelen had called them here. "No," Aaron whispered. "You betrayed us. I saved us." Yelen shot back. "I saved our home." Before Aaron could answer, the cavern shook. Engines roared outside, and the sound of boots filled the tunnels. Soldiers were coming. Mira's eyes flashed. "We must move." Aaron stared at Yelen, pain cutting deeper than fear. His friend had chosen survival, but in doing so, had doomed them all. With a heavy heart, Aaron turned away and followed Mira out the back of the building. Deeper into the cavern, the soldiers poured in seconds later. Shouts echoed as beams of red light cut through the dark. Aaron and Mira sprinted, their footsteps pounding against stone. The path grew narrow again, twisting into another tunnel. "Aaron," Jelen's voice called after him, desperate now. "Stop! Give it to them. It's the only way." But Aaron did not stop. His heart ached. But he kept running. The core pulsed warmly against his chest, as if reminding him of its importance. Mira's words echoed in his mind. The Empire never spares anyone. They reached a ladder that climbed upward toward a faint glow. Mira motioned for Aaron to go first. He climbed as fast as his tired arms allowed, his muscles screaming. Below, the cavern filled with the sound of battle shouts, weapons, the clash of stone breaking. When he reached the top, Aaron pulled himself out into the open night. Stars filled the sky, and the wind whipped across the mountain peak. Mira followed. Sealing the hatch behind them, they stood together, breathing hard, their bodies trembling with exhaustion. But they were free again for now. Aaron looked back at the hatch, his heart heavy. Jelen's face would not leave his mind, a friend he had trusted. Now left behind in the hands of soldiers. Mira touched his shoulder. "The path of truth is never without loss." Aaron nodded slowly, though his chest ached. He had lost his home, his safety, and now his friend. But the memory core still glowed against his chest, and he knew he could not stop. Not now, not ever. Aaron and Mira climbed higher into the mountains, leaving the echoing shouts and alarms of the Empire far below. The cold air stung their faces, but it was clearer here, calmer. For the first time in days, Aaron could feel his mind clearing, though his chest still throbbed from the constant fear. They reached a small plateau where the snow had begun to gather. Mira pointed to a ridge across the valley. "The station is there, hidden from scanners and from the Empire. We can rest there, learn more about the core, and decide our next move." Aaron nodded, his hand still clutching the memory core. The glow of it warmed him, almost like a heartbeat, and he felt its silent urgency. He had carried it through deserts, caves, and betrayal. And now, standing on the cold mountain plateau, he finally understood the truth of what he held. This thing, he said softly, looking at Mira, it's more than proof, it's power. Whoever has it can change everything. Yes, Mira agreed, her silver eyes serious. But with power comes choice. What we do with it can save many or destroy many. That is why you must understand humans before we move forward. You must decide. Aaron frowned. Decide? Decide what? Mira gestured toward the core. Whether to use it, hide it, or destroy it, the Empire will come for it. If humans learn the truth, they can fight back, but they might also fail. And failure would mean worse than death for countless worlds. Aaron swallowed hard. The responsibility weighed heavily on him. For days he had been running, hiding, and fearing for his life. Now, he had to think beyond survival. He had to think about humanity, about the countless lives that might depend on his choice. I don't even know what humans will do, he said quietly. We are small compared to the Empire. Our fleets are nothing like theirs. Our soldiers are limited. How could we even hope to fight them? Mira stepped closer, her voice gentle. Humans are unpredictable. That is why the Empire fears you. You do not always follow logic. You fight for freedom, for love, for what is right, even when all odds are against you. That makes you stronger than any fleet. That makes you dangerous in ways the Empire cannot calculate. Aaron considered her words. He had never thought of humans this way. He had thought them fragile, small, easily manipulated. But looking at the core, at the truth it carried, he realized that humans could rise to challenges in ways no one expected. Perhaps Mira was right. He shook his head, trying to clear the doubt. But what if we fail? If I bring this to them and they fail, it could be worse than if I destroy it now. Thousands of lives, millions, could be lost because of my choice. Mira reached out, placing her hand on his arm. That is the risk of choice. But standing still, hiding, or destroying the truth only ensures that the Empire continues unchallenged. You cannot choose in fear. You must choose in hope and courage. Aaron looked down at the glowing core. The warmth against his palm was comforting, yet heavy with responsibility. He remembered the images it had shown him: burning worlds, falling ships, silent voices of those who had been silenced. He remembered Mira, her trust, and her courage. And he thought of Earth, of people who might fight if they only knew, of people who might rise to protect freedom because that was what humans did best. Aaron took a deep breath and made his decision. We go to Earth. We show them the core. We give them the chance to fight back. I don't know if they will succeed, but I cannot hide this. I cannot destroy it. It belongs to everyone. Mira's eyes shone, a mixture of relief and pride. I hoped you would choose that path. Humans may not be perfect, but their spirit is unmatched. You have the courage I hoped you would find. Now we must reach the station, prepare, and contact your people. They moved quickly across the plateau toward the hidden station. It was small, partially buried in snow and rock, and long abandoned. The doors creaked as Mira pushed them open, revealing a room filled with old machinery, data terminals, and storage units. Dust covered the surfaces, but the place felt alive with history. This station, Mira said, was built to hide my people's knowledge from the Empire. If we use it wisely, we can send the core safely to Earth. Aaron carefully placed the memory core on a table. Its glow filled the room, reflecting in the metal walls. He ran his fingers over its smooth surface, feeling its warmth and pulse. It's amazing, he said quietly. It feels alive. It holds the living memory of my people. Mira explained. Their experiences, their warnings, their voices. Whoever holds it can see the truth for themselves. That is why the Empire fears it so much. Aaron nodded. The weight of the decision pressed against him again. He had chosen to share this with humans, to give them a chance. But now came the harder part: preparing to face the consequences. Mira tapped a small panel on the wall, activating an old communication array. This will allow us to reach Earth. But be warned, the Empire can detect signals, trace them. We must be careful. Once the message is sent, there is no turning back. Aaron took a deep breath, steadying his shaking hands. We don't have much time. If they find us, It will be the end. We have enough time, Mira said firmly. We have the advantage of surprise, and humans are clever. They will see the truth and know how to respond. But you must be ready. They will ask questions. They will doubt. You will need to lead them. Aaron swallowed. The thought of leading, of carrying this responsibility, made his chest tight. But he could not ignore the truth. He had made his choice, and now he had to follow through. He looked at Mira. Then let's do it. Let's send the core to Earth. Let them see what the Empire has done, and let them decide how to fight back. Mira nodded, a small smile touching her lips. You are ready. Humans may not be perfect, but with courage, determination, and hope, they can change the galaxy. Aaron placed the core into the communication array. Its glow intensified as the machinery hummed to life. Images, voices, and memories streamed through the system, transmitting across the stars to Earth. The room was filled with light and sound. But Aaron did not flinch. He felt the pulse of history in his hands. For the first time since the chase began, he felt a sense of purpose. He had chosen. He had chosen to trust humans, to trust hope, to stand against the Empire. Outside the station, the wind blew cold across the mountain peaks. Stars shone brightly above, endless and eternal. Aaron stood beside Mira, his hand still on the core. Feeling the weight of truth and choice, the path ahead was dangerous. The Empire would not give up. Battles would come, sacrifices would be made, and lives would be at risk. But Aaron knew one thing with certainty: humans had the courage to stand, the spirit to fight, and the will to survive. And now, the universe would see it. The memory core pulsed steadily in the communication array, sending its glow across the vast darkness of space. Aaron and Mira watched silently as the data streamed toward Earth, carrying the truth of countless worlds, the warnings of those lost, and the proof of the Empire's cruelty. Aaron's chest ached with a mixture of fear and hope. The decision he had made weighed heavily upon him, yet he felt a quiet determination. He had chosen to trust humans, to give them a chance to rise. Now all that remained was to wait and see how they would respond. Days passed in tense silence. The mountain station was quiet except for the hum of the old machinery. Outside, snow drifted across the peaks, and the wind howled through the tunnels. Aaron had never felt so isolated, yet so connected to the lives that depended on them. Then, one morning, a signal came through the array. Mira's eyes widened as she read the data. They received it, she said softly. Earth has the memory core. They are aware of everything. Aaron leaned forward, his heart racing. And what do they say? Are they ready? They are preparing, Mira replied. Governments, scientists, fleets, everyone is responding. They are organizing defenses, and they are sending messages back to us. They want guidance. They want to know how to fight the Empire. A small smile touched Aaron's face. For the first time since the chase began, he allowed himself a moment of relief. Humans had seen the truth, and they had chosen to act. Courage, resilience, and determination, the very qualities Mira had spoken of, were shining through. The next days were filled with coordination. Aaron and Mira used the station's arrays to guide Earth's fleets, transmitting knowledge from the memory core. They revealed secret locations of Empire outposts, weaknesses in their ships, and strategies the Empire had used to dominate worlds. Every piece of information gave humanity an advantage. Aaron was amazed by the speed and efficiency. Humans, though small compared to the Empire, adapted quickly. They formed alliances, shared knowledge, and mobilized defenses. He realized that the alien woman had been right. Humans were unpredictable, but they were clever, and they fought, not just for victory, but for what was right. One night, as Aaron worked at the terminal, Mira spoke softly. You did the right thing. The core is in human hands, and they are rising to the challenge. But the Empire will come. You must be ready. Aaron nodded. I know. I don't expect it to be easy. But they will fight. Humans always fight. Mira's silver eyes gleamed. And now, you have shown them the truth. That makes all the difference. The Empire may have power, but humans have courage, and that cannot be measured. As the days passed, reports came in from Earth. fleets of human ships moved towards strategic locations, liberating colonies under Empire control. Scientists deciphered messages from the memory core, revealing hidden technologies and defensive measures. Communication with other planets, once cut off by the Empire, began to resume. Aaron watched the reports with awe. Humanity was rising, inspired, not just by the threat, but by the truth and the proof of resistance carried in the core. He realized that hope was as powerful a weapon as any fleet, but the Empire was not idle. One morning, red blips appeared on the station's scanners. A fleet of the Empire's ships was moving rapidly toward the mountains. Their engines glowed menacingly, cutting through the darkness. "They are coming," Mira said calmly, though her hand hovered near her weapon. "They want the core back, and they will not leave without it." Aaron felt a surge of fear, but it was tempered by resolve. They had done everything they could to alert humanity. The Empire would meet resistance unlike anything they had faced before. The first wave of Empire ships entered the atmosphere, firing upon the mountains below. Aaron and Mira watched from the station, guiding Earth's fleets into strategic positions using the data from the core. Humans responded with precision, attacking with intelligence and courage. Ships moved in formations that the Empire had never predicted, ambushing supply lines and liberating captured outposts. Aaron could hardly believe his eyes. Humans were fighting, not for conquest, but for survival and justice. Each victory, each maneuver, inspired more planets to join the fight. Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is what I hoped for. Truth inspires courage, and courage inspires action. The Empire cannot defeat what they cannot control." Aaron nodded, his heart swelling with pride. He had doubted himself, feared failure, and carried the weight of countless lives, yet now he saw the power of human choice and determination. Over the following weeks, humanity's rise continued. News from across the galaxy came, and Empire forces being defeated, colonies being liberated, and people inspired to resist wherever they could. The memory core had given them knowledge, but it was humans themselves who turned that knowledge into action. One evening, as Aaron and Mira watched the stars from the station, he spoke quietly. "I never imagined it would be like this. Humans, they really can make a difference." Mira smiled. "Yes, they can. And you helped them see that. You gave them the chance to rise. That is why the Empire fears you, not because you are strong, but because you are human." Aaron placed his hand over the memory core, feeling its pulse. "I didn't feel strong. I was afraid. But I had to trust that humans could do what was right." "Courage is not the absence of fear," Mira said softly. "It is acting despite it." Aaron nodded. The Empire had chased them across worlds, tried to silence truth, and forced them to make impossible choices. But now, humanity was rising, and he knew, in his heart, that they could overcome even the greatest darkness if they chose to stand together. Outside, the stars burned brightly across the galaxy. Aaron and Mira knew that battles were far from over, but hope had returned. The memory core had done its part, and humans had done theirs. For the first time in a long time, Aaron smiled. He had been afraid, but he had acted. He had made a choice, and that choice had sparked a revolution. The universe was vast, dangerous, and uncertain. But as long as humans held courage, hope, and truth in their hands, no empire could ever extinguish the light. Aaron looked at Mira, then at the glowing core. "We did it," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied, her eyes reflecting the stars. "The future is theirs, the choice is theirs, and they will rise." The mountains were silent again, the wind whispering over the peaks, yet far across the galaxy, humanity's answer had begun, carried on waves of light and truth, ready to change everything.